Well, it's Sunday. A champion will be born today. I'm Kyle McKenna, a couple of Jersey boys, Chris Russo. 2 games on tap. Trophies will be handed out. We're going to start with the Eastern Hockey League Premier level. It's the Junior Railers and the New Jersey 87s. Chris, we witnessed 2 good hockey games yesterday. Now these 2 teams are going to face off. Almost 2 different types of teams, though, too, with the Railers and the 87s.
Yeah, I would say that perhaps the Railers are a little more balanced, I would say, in terms of scoring. I mean, both these teams are fairly deep. The 87s obviously finished with a better record in the regular season. The Railers did not win their division. The 87s did. So I would say, if there is a favorite, it's a slight edge to the 87s. But the Railers played very well yesterday. The 87s played very well yesterday, and it's all about momentum. These are two teams that are both. It wouldn't be surprising if either of these teams won.
It's so interesting too because for the EHL level, we've been here for a few days. For the HLP, it's a quick turnaround. It's go time. There's almost, I think we were talking to Mike Odessa yesterday, the head coach of the Junior Railers, and I think we kind of discussed like, hey, it's like short memory, right? Like it's a quick turnaround. He kind of seemed like his team could have played better, but again, it's a short memory. Today is a new day. Trophies are going to be handed out, and it's how do these guys handle kind of like the spotlight too for the EHLP. And again, it's good to see college scouts are going to be here. The EHL coaches are here. So it's great exposure for these guys.
Yeah, it's really something. And again, I think I mentioned this before that none of these guys are going to jump for the EHLP straight to college. It's probably not, at least, but it's something to at least prove to your EHL coach and the rest of the EHL coaches out there what you can do, what you can be next year. Because if you're thinking we can win an EHLP title this year, you're thinking we have the ability to win that at the next level next year with all the guys that are aging out. So it's really a way to prove yourself to your team, to your coaches, to the league, and also just to prove the league itself and how well this week has been run.
The Railers yesterday, they come out in the first period. I thought they established the forecheck really well. They kind of impressed me with their speed, and they forced the Lumberjacks to turn over the puck, and they cashed in. They scored 3. I think it was 3 goals in the first period.
3 goals in the first period.
Turned out to be the difference maker ultimately for that contest. And then you look at the 87s, Chris, and it's like, wow, these guys have size. The 87s are big.
It's absolutely true. I don't think there is. I mean, are there 2 guys really as big in not just in the EHLP, but in the EHL in this tournament as Dom Migliorato and Lucas Klein? And not to mention, they're not just big guys. They play with skill. They are really good, skilled, very tall defensemen. And I mean, there are not a lot of very, very tall, big skill players in hockey. It's a bit of a rare thing. And not to mention, they're great shot blockers. And we didn't just see that for the 87s from their defensemen. We saw that a lot from their forwards yesterday. McWigan, Larico, Forrest, a lot of these guys, even their superstars, they'll go in and get down and block shots. Really a very good two-way team, and that's why it was a 3-0 victory.
Should be interesting between the pipes for both teams. I think it's really going to boil down to the EHLP level and EHL too. And it's so hard to be a goaltender. It's just reality. Like, goaltenders are the most fascinating human beings on this planet. It's so difficult to be that athletic and to have that much pressure on you too. I thought Moore yesterday played fantastic for the 87s, and he got the shutout, yes, but I almost feel like I don't want to say he didn't receive enough credit, but I think he was a bigger factor than most of us realized.
Yeah, well, look, if this game ended maybe 2-0 instead of 3-0, I think he might have gotten a little more credit. Not to mention that the 87s did outshoot the Lumberjacks, I think, by about, I think it was 35-28. I want to say 28 saves is still a 28 save shutout. Now, look, Cole Moore, I mentioned this with Matt Kieran yesterday. He missed a couple of months this season. There's a bit of a goal. 3 goaltenders on the roster in Moore, Matt Corella, who's the backup yesterday, and I believe will be the backup today, I would think, and Tyler Rossell. And Moore got really hot down the stretch. He's been outstanding in the playoffs. He's 3-0 with a save percentage.
Wow. That's like Hall of Fame like.
It is Hall of Fame. Oh, it's more than Hall of Fame like. He's been phenomenal. He has been arguably the best player for the 87s, even though as a team they've played well enough that they.
It's going to come down to who's going to make fewer mistakes, in my opinion. And it's their time to shine at the HLP level. We kind of talked about it over the last few days, Chris, and I didn't want to be that guy and be cliche, but I'm going back. I'm going back to the well. The first goal is huge.
Oh God, it's tremendous. We mentioned, the 87s mentioned this with their EHL team, and you look at it, this entire tournament, EHL and EHLP, it's been so much about the first goal, and a lot of times teams jumping out to 2-0, 3-0 leads, and then that fourth goal that quells everything if it gets really to that point. I love a good defensive battle more than anybody, so I'm just hoping to say it's a little lower scoring, but the first goal is going to be so crucial because odds are the first goal will lead to a victory.
We'll find out in less than an hour, well, maybe a couple hours. Puck drop coming up shortly for the EHLP level. Let's transition to the EHL level. The Boston Junior Rangers making their first appearance in EHL history at the Frozen Finals against the old dogs, quote unquote, New Hampshire Avalanche and Company. Chris Aarons is the only man in this building who's lacing up the skates today with the ring. He's trying to get his second, while the Avalanche aim for their third consecutive championship.
And it's funny, we were actually talking to his mom at the hotel last night, and Chris Aarons is a tough guy as anybody on this team. Mm-hmm. He is very strong. He's a warrior, and he is the winning mentor. Well, Chris Aarons, along with Chris Sorrell and the entire coaching staff, are that link of New Hampshire Avalanche glory and championships and those two titles to try to make it 3 in. Now, to make it's 3 in 4 years. Let's point that out. But it would be a phenomenal run for New Hampshire and for Chris Aarons to be able to be that link between the last championship team 2 years ago and then this strange past year and then into this year and to win it for New Hampshire. He is very deserving, and he's one of he has lived up to the hype of the captaincy, and he's been one of the better players on the ice for New Hampshire in this tournament.
And I mean, you're speaking up about, we're talking about captains here, and this is the last time you'll hear it from me. The Kyle McKenna I formation is apparent on both sides. The Boston Junior Rangers are deep. Center, D, goalie. The Avalanche, center, D, goalie. Miller, fantastic between the pipes. George McMichael, shiny between the pipes. Does someone like Andy Moore, he got hot. He popped in a couple of goals against the Avalanche recently, a couple of snips. He found the twine. Does he shine today, or maybe do we leave this game up to the veterans to kind of lead the way?
I mean, the thing is, the first line has essentially, as deep as the Junior Rangers are, in this tournament, it seems like, with the possible exception of Andy Moore, the first line has carried the Junior Rangers offensively.
Schaefer with the hattie.
Schaefer with the hat trick. Nathan Young has been arguably their best player and best playmaker. He's a great two-way forward.
Center.
So, yeah, he's a center. Connor Bazzal is their leader in points. Andy Moore is right up there, but he's been playing more so on the third line. He hasn't been playing as much with those guys. He's been a one-man wrecking crew. The Junior Rangers are so deep, but it's so funny because their first line has been far superior to the rest. Even the goals that, their lower lines, even though they've played well, even the goals that the lower lines did score, they've been goals, that have been maybe goals, shots that could have been stopped, or there was a redirection by a defender. But that first line has been so solid. Andy Moore could very well be the best player in this game, the best player in this tournament. And in the postseason, he's been outstanding. But I mean, that line of Bazzal, Young, and Schaefer has been so phenomenal that I think you have to rely on them.
And I know Chris Sorrell, head coach of the New Hampshire Avalanche, I feel like the Avs play more of a defensive styled, where the Rangers, they're more run and gun. But again, I think sometimes we overlook just how good their defense core is. So it's interesting to see, I think if you're the Avalanche, getting the early lead is so important. I know it's the first goal, but for them, they get the lead and then they kind of dictate what's going to happen next. And I think that's why they've won 2 rings.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, they're deep. And, it's funny. Chris Aarons has probably been the guy for that. The most important players have probably been Chris Aarons and George McMichael. Now, George McMichael goes against is actually a little higher than that of Muller, but his save percentage has been so solid, and he's made saves at the right time.
Yeah, big and timely saves. It doesn't matter how many shots you see. It's about making those big and timely saves.
That's been the biggest thing. Nathan Miller has a lower goals against and higher save percentage in this postseason and in the regular season, of course. But George McMichael has just made the biggest saves. Nathan Muller has as well, but George McMichael has made those big saves when he's needed to. It's kind of like David Reducey.
So are you saying essentially is if the Avs win, Is McMichael your MVP?
It's so tough because I'm not quite sure. The goals against is still high enough that it kind of deters me from doing it. Because there are a lot of guys. Because, Boston, I think right now is limited to, I would say it's Andy Moore, anyone on the top line, or Nathan Miller. That's what it is right now. It could very much change. But for New Hampshire, I don't know, because you have McMichael's a big one. Thomas Dempsey is their leader in points, which is actually a little surprising to me. Matachenko has played, I think, fairly well in the last couple of games. Hakarainen has been outstanding. Kochi's had a really good last couple of games. He's really stepped up. Even Andrew Clifford, 4 assists in 3 games. There are a few guys in New Hampshire. It's going to be very tough, and I think
even Dempsey.
Dempsey,
on the back end, he's leading the team in points.
6 points in 5 games.
I mean, that just speaks volumes.
And he's a fellow Jersey boy. So,
a couple of Jersey boys right here, yeah. But even you think about, when you talk to both coaches, they're just like, we're deep, we have depth, and they do, and that's why they're here. These two teams deserve to be here no matter what. Well,
that's how New Hampshire made it a game with Boston and almost kept them from getting to the final on Friday, even though they were without their top line. That's how good they were. It was only a 2-1 game, and that's how good even their backup goaltender Ronan Mobley was outstanding in that game, limiting them to 2 goals, and that's how deep New Hampshire is.
It's kind of difficult too when you think about this, because these teams just played on Friday, and in my opinion, it's tough to beat a team twice in 1 week in this league.
It's true.
It's tough. It doesn't matter how it's tough, but again, expect the unexpected, and it's the Frozen Final, so it's kind of just a whole new element that we almost can't even explain. It's going to be decided on the ice. And then when these guys get here today, you're rolling up on the bus, full parking lot. You got your headphones in, you got your music going, you're in the zone.
Pouring rain.
You realize just how big this moment is, and you get in the rink, and you've got the jitters. You do. And when you're lacing up the skates, and when Rich DiCaprio is pumping his guys up and Chris Sorrell is pumping his guys up, you realize wow, this is everything we work for right now. Everything goes out the door. We're leaving it all on the line, and you're gonna have to make sacrifices. As I said the other day, you don't block shots. Guess what? Today, you're blocking shots, pal.
You're blocking shots. And it's true. A lot. New Hampshire blocks shots so well. They do such a good job with it. I would argue that may be their calling card, is just how many shots they are willing to block. They are a John Tortorella-like team.
Yeah.
And it's so impressive.
It's almost, I know you like to say this a lot, it's almost like Tale of Two Cities with the Rangers and Avalanche. Like the Rangers, I feel like they have kids, like even Malandrucolo, I'm still high on this guy. Like this kid, I'm telling you right now, he's a playmaker, and he can find the back of the net. With Andy Moore, guy who can score at will. Schaefer has a hattie the other day, and like the Avalanche are just so disciplined and efficient in all 3 zones.
Yeah, but it's really going to come down to I think it's going to come down most to first line versus first line.
Okay.
And whether
my stars are going to outplay your stars.
That's the biggest question, because both teams obviously have the depth, but Boston has not performed as well in terms of depth in the postseason offensively. Defensively, they played quite well. But most of these goals have come from the top line, and it's a question of whether it looks like I think it's going to be McGinn, Hotchkiss, all these guys, Matachenko, Hakarainen, whether these guys can match up and cancel out, in particular, Young, Bazzal, Schaefer. That's going to be the biggest key. And if you're Boston,
that's no easy task.
No, it is not an easy task, because they are all dangerous players, not just from an ability to facilitate and to pass, but they are all good goal scorers. And Nathan Young is an outstanding defender. So it's really going to be a battle of top lines and goaltenders today. That's what I would say.
Side note, I'm actually so eager to see the first goal of the game and who has like the awesome Sally. Like this is the championship, guys. Like go hard. As for me, I'm all set for today. I'm ready, and best of luck to all 4 teams playing today. Chris, anything else you want to chime in?
Just give us good games. That's all we ask for. We're not rooting for anybody. We just want good games. That's all. That's all you can ask for as a broadcaster. We want the most exciting things possible. I prefer defense, but honestly, if you give me a shootout and you give me good stuff, kind of like I thought the best game of the first round might have been Lumberjacks in the '87s or the round robin. If you give me something like that, we just want a good game.
See, I was cool with the Rangers and Avs the other day. I thought it was fantastic.
That was an outstanding
game. 1-goal game. I'm all about it.
The excitement might have been taken a little bit out of it, considering.
So it's round 2. It's like, what is it, Rocky Part 2?
Yeah, the excitement might have been taken out of it a little bit, I think, because New Hampshire wasn't playing for as much, but they're playing for something now. And if they limited Boston to 2 goals then, I mean, who knows what they can do now. It should be really fun.
Well, thank you to all the parents, the grandparents, as I like to say, the siblings, and so on, the team employees, the coaches, the referees, Neil Ravin, Brittany Hart, Jefferson Mills, Chris Russo. This couldn't be possible without the whole junior hockey community, as I like to say.
Justin Switeri and Anthony
Justin, how could I forget Justin and Anthony? Here we are. It's Sunday. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you at the rink. Trophies will be handed out. I'm Kyle McKenna, Chris Russo.